I wanted to share two stories as it relates to self-awareness of emotional limitations. So the first story is from August, in which we had a patient panel involving patients with cystic fibrosis. And as they were sharing their stories, I could feel myself about to cry, like right then and there. They shared how there was a new drug that they had taken that came on the market, and it completely changed their lives. Literally from thinking, oh, gee, I can't really make any plans further than a month or a couple months from now because I might die tomorrow. Shifting that to now saying we can think about, the future together, retirement plans, traveling, having a family. And this is medicine. Like that was my thought in that moment as I'm trying to process the emotions that I'm feeling right at that moment. And that's why I came here. So I can be a rather emotional person at times, especially concerning, things that are deeply troubling, things that, what we might consider like the lows, or things that are powerfully positive, what we might consider, the highs. And it makes me wonder, how many patients I might actually just cry right in front of in my career. So I talked about this experience with one of my older doctor friends who's an oncologist. And, he had told me about some of his more difficult cases in his career and how he, goes about processing it all. And, I asked him, how do you find strength, especially as an oncologist, to, go from patient to patient, case to case? And, he said for him, most times, there are really unfortunate outcomes. It could be a patient that, only has a couple months left to live, or a patient in which, they thought that there was going to be a bad outcome, and it actually, the cancer was resolved, and it was great. But he said that, you have to remember that each case is different, and you have to bring, a refreshed attitude and spirit for each patient because, that's what they require and that's what they deserve. So that's a segue into my second story from October, just a couple days ago, in which I watched a lecture on it was an introductory lecture to palliative care, and a patient shared about how his debilitating, health history, how debilitating his health history has been since he was first diagnosed with cancer, and it came back 3 times. And for the third phase, if you will, he decided to receive palliative care instead of trying to fight it. And he said that it was, the best decision that he made, but it was also very difficult, of course, on him and his family. And he also shared a story about how his father passed away. He went into cardiac arrest and keeled over right into his arms, the patient's arms, while he was sitting on the couch. He tried to do CPR and it didn't work. And so he shared that because of his cancer and his health history now, he's usually a person that keeps like these emotions to himself and these stories, and he doesn't really share them. But now he doesn't really have great control over even his own emotions. So things that he would have kept to himself before now just comes up. And this was overwhelmingly emotional. I didn't just almost about to cry. I straight up cried. And, it was just powerful to sit there and listen, especially for me as a person who wants to treat the geriatric population, who may be nearer to the end of their life than younger patients or people who have a more healthy health history. And so for being self-aware of my emotional limitations, it would be, understanding that not every case is going to elicit, these same emotional responses. There'll, be a spectrum. But there isn't indeed a limit to how much I can process with difficult cases before it just pulls these strong emotions out of me that might make me cry or feel somber. And so my response in both of these situations was to reach out to clinicians who have experience with processing, these tough cases and stories with their own patients. And this was very helpful. So my main takeaway would be that, I need to give myself moments to debrief and de-stress, whether that's stepping away for a moment or, as my oncologist friend does, get away for a day or two, if, of course, time permits. And so I plan on continuing to reach out to others when I need to, just talk aloud, right? Not just internal, but external about what I'm feeling, because even a therapist might need, therapy. And so the last thing I want to share is that my oncologist friend said, it's not about how much you memorize, with the information, but it's about if you care enough to treat patients with kindness and respect and just do the best that you can for them, and that's genuine empathy.